Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's honestly a total game changer. We're exploring a truly life-altering concept from Adlerian psychology, drawn right from the massive hit, The Courage to be Disliked. To make these heavy, self-improvement ideas super approachable, we're going to break them down by eavesdropping on a really fascinating conversation between two characters, an anxious, deeply skeptical student and a wise, super patient mentor. Think of me as your guide today, playing both parts, as we translate this profound source material into a roadmap for you. We're going to figure out exactly how to achieve absolute freedom from other people's expectations.
Okay, let's dive into this. Put yourself in the shoes of our student for a second. Have you ever felt totally paralyzed by the fear of being judged? Do you ever find yourself just constantly bending over backwards, putting your own dreams on hold just to keep your parents, your friends, or even just society at large happy? That deep, exhausting pain of people-pleasing is exactly what our skeptical student brings to the mentor. You see, the student feels completely trapped, fully convinced that life is just too complicated and absolutely impossible to change because of all these heavy external pressures and past traumas.
Section 1. The Fear of Change. Now, the student naturally argues that their past trauma, their rough upbringing, and their socially awkward personality are the definitive root causes of their paralyzing anxiety right now. They're basically saying, hey, I can't change because my past made me this way. But the mentor drops an absolute truth bomb here. They introduce the concept of teleology. The sources explain that Adlerian psychology actually completely rejects the classic Freudian idea of etiology, which is the belief that our past causes our present. Instead, teleology says, no, we aren't driven by past causes at all. We actually invent our emotions right now in the present to achieve a current hidden goal. The mentor uses this wild example of a friend who's locked in their room. They aren't locked inside because they have trauma. Rather, they literally manufacture the anxiety because their current goal is to stay inside. Maybe it's to get special attention from their parents, you know? We invent our emotions to serve our immediate purposes. Naturally, our student gets super defensive about this. They start rattling off a whole list of reasons why they simply cannot change. But the mentor fires right back, breaking down these 3 really common excuses people use to safely stay stuck in their comfort zone. First, we blame past trauma. Second, we claim we just lack innate talent or education or even good looks. And here's the really surprising one. We literally manufacture negative emotions, things like anxiety or anger, specifically to avoid taking social risks. Think about it. If you never try, you can never be rejected. The mentor tells the student straight up, you are only unable to change because you are making the persistent decision not to change. Moving right along to Section 2, separating your daily tasks. So the student is starting to get it, but then completely panics. They say, wait, if I make my own choices, I'll totally disappoint my family. Let's just imagine a simulated conflict scene right here. Picture this. Your parents are pressuring you to take a super safe, conventional path. They're saying you need to get a secure corporate job and act a certain way to fit in. That right there is the peers' imposed expectation. But your genuine internal goal is totally different. You want to pursue a creative passion or just live a totally different lifestyle. The student is agonizing over this clash because they mistakenly believe it's their fundamental responsibility to make the other person happy.
To untangle this massive interpersonal knot, the mentor introduces a genuinely revolutionary concept called the separation of tasks. This is literally the core secret to building the courage to be disliked when you're making life-changing decisions. And here is the concrete 3-step framework for it. Step 1, ask, whose task is this? You do this by figuring out who ultimately bears the result of the choice. Step 2, calmly delineate the boundary between your task and theirs. And finally, Step 3, do not intervene in their task and absolutely refuse to let them intervene in yours. So, for example, if you want to pursue an unconventional career, hey, that's your task. If your parents get angry or worried about it, managing that emotional reaction is their task, not yours.
So here's exactly what that looks like in practice. The student can use this exact, incredibly powerful script to gracefully decline a peer who's trying to impose their expectations. You just say, I must face my own tasks in my life without lying to myself. How you react to my choice is your task, not mine. By using this approach, the student isn't being cold and they aren't being selfish. They are simply respecting the boundaries of who owns which task and politely refusing to carry someone else's psychological luggage. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it turns theory into practice. To make this a real habit, take a look at this concrete daily reflection template. You can use this checklist to assess whether your current actions are actually serving you or someone else. Look at the rows here. Choosing my career path? Well, I bear the ultimate result of that, so it's my task. What about my parents feeling angry about my choice? They bear the emotional result of their own anger, so you guessed it, that's their task. And look, as terrifying as it feels to let your parents just be mad, their emotional reaction is their luggage to carry, not yours. How about trying to fix a friend's bad mood? That's their task to process. The mentor stresses that almost all interpersonal relationship troubles are caused by intruding on other people's tasks or letting them intrude on yours.
Section 3. The myth of superiority.
Right away, the student asks, wait a second, if I just focus on my own tasks and completely ignore what others expect of me, doesn't that make me super arrogant? Doesn't that mean I think I'm superior to everyone else? Well, the mentor completely dismantles this objection by comparing two very different mindsets. On the left, we have the toxic idea of feeling superior. This happens when you view life as a vertical competition, a stressful, zero-sum game where someone else's success literally means your failure. But on the right, we have healthy, individual uniqueness. Adlerian psychology teaches that life is not a race on a track where we're all trying to beat each other. Instead, imagine we are all walking on the exact same flat, horizontal ground. We view others as comrades, not enemies. We're all completely unique, for sure, but fundamentally, nobody is superior and nobody is inferior. Which brings us to our final act, Section 4, the courage to contribute. At this point, the student is definitely starting to feel a sense of relief, but man, they are exhausted. They ask the mentor, okay, if I'm not competing with anyone and I'm not seeking anyone's approval, how do I ever feel like I have any value? How do I replace this agonizing need for social recognition? The mentor then reveals the secret to permanently replacing the need for social recognition with personal contribution. They give the student these 3 highly actionable habits. First, practice true self-acceptance. The sources use a fantastic example for this. If you score 60% on a test, fake self-affirmation is lying to yourself and saying, oh, I'm really a 100% student who just got unlucky today. True self-acceptance is looking in the mirror and saying, I am a 60% student right now, how can I get closer to 100%? Second, place unconditional confidence in others, treating them as true comrades rather than threats. And third, actively contribute to others without ever expecting a reward or even a simple thank you in return. So, the crucial point is this specific definition of true happiness. This right here is the absolute climax of Adlerian philosophy. True happiness does not require a standing ovation. It doesn't require 1 million followers, and it doesn't require your parents' perfect approval. True happiness is simply the subjective, internal feeling of contribution. It's genuinely believing, deep down, I am of use to someone. The sources give this great simple example of washing the dishes after dinner. If you do it hoping your family is going to praise you, you're going to feel super resentful if they don't even notice. But if you do it simply with the internal feeling that, hey, I am of use to my family, you actually find true joy in the act itself. When you feel that internal sense of contribution, your exhausting desire for external recognition just completely disappears. And that leaves us with the ultimate question from the mentor to the student, and really from me to you. Based on absolutely everything we've explored from this source material today, you have a choice. Will you choose the temporary discomfort of being disliked by enforcing your own boundaries? Or will you choose the lifelong prison of living someone else's life just to satisfy their expectations? Because the courage to be happy is fundamentally the courage to be disliked. I really want you to think about that the next time you face a difficult decision. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope you start practicing the separation of tasks today. Catch you next time.